Hello everyone, welcome to this week's Gran Turismo 7 Daily Race and Strategy Guide. We're in Group 3 machinery and we are off to Suzuka Circuit in Japan. And no, your eyes do not deceive you, we have 20 laps around a circuit that takes around about 2 minutes a lap. It's a 40-minute race, folks. Tyre wear is at times 3, fuel is at times 2. It's just the racing medium tyres, there is a mandatory pit stop. BOP is on, it's the medium speed BOP. Damage is light, it's a rolling start, slipstream is real, and settings allowed are only the brake balance. So just the default setups and balance of performance is on. So yeah, this came as a little bit of a surprise, to be honest with you. I don't think anybody was expecting a 20 lap race. I don't think too many people had kind of predicted Group 3 around Suzuka either. So kudos to Polyphony Digital. This is the little bit of evolution that we have been asking for. Ironically, I mentioned it in a video just on Friday or Saturday as well. Probably just a coincidence, but there has been coincidental things happened in this game not long after I've put a video out, kind of, you know, making points about the game that could maybe be improved upon. So, well, you never know, do you? You never know who's watching your content out there. But into the race we go. It's the 7 o'clock in the morning split, and as ever it's usually quite a stacked race because Tidgney does this one and brings a lot of the TCR boys and girls out to play as well. So it's actually quite a stacked grid for 7 o'clock in the morning. We're in the Jaguar F-Type. Just wanted to see how this car performed round here, and it is going to be a decision that I am going to regret as this race starts to unfold. But we're getting ready for the rolling start now, and I just wanted to say the rolling start is actually very good around here. We're starting down in P12, we haven't qualified, and I reckon P16 by the time you get into turn 1 is only going to be about 4 seconds behind the leader. So a long race, and even if you're starting at the back, the field spread at into the first corner is very short indeed. Not something like 8-9 seconds being off the lead, even if you start at the back. So yeah, good rolling start here, I must say. We're behind Mario Sonic in the Nissan GTR. There was quite a few Porsches in this race as well. I think I've seen a Lexus, a few Genesis, as you would expect. But nobody's going to have that many laps under their belt at this point. So we're all just trying to find our feet. Nobody really knew what the strategy was going to be at this point. Times 3 tyre wear on medium tyres. Doesn't sound a lot, but Suzuka is notorious for burning through the front tyres on most of the cars out there, and if you take the sort of multiplier in, 3 times 20, it's a 60 lap race essentially on the tyres. So there is a mandatory pit stop for this one. It was almost certain that you were going to have to change those tyres. In fact, I'll tell you right now, you're not going to not change the tyres in this one. It just isn't worth it. You'll see my tyre wear towards the end after the strategy that we tried to do in this one. So getting a little bit of a tank slapper out there. I think we actually got the tank slapper out of Degner 2. And that was really just a characteristic of this Jaguar, to be perfectly honest with you. Tidgney managed to capitalise and overtake us on the run up to the hairpin, went round the outside, we gave him the space, and then Muscaffi's had a little bit of a moment into Spoon Curve, which allows us to retake P12 as we come towards the end of lap 1. So yeah, just about survival in this one. Suzuka is just a circuit that's got so many dangerous corners. It's a 20 lap race. I think, lap 1, lap 2, just take it nice and easy. Don't run into the back of the drivers in front of you like we very nearly did to Tidgney there. Probably gave him a little bit of a fright in the rear view mirror on that one. But yeah, just survive lap 1. Make sure you keep the car on the track. It's a long race, and that's what I kind of like about these longer races, to be perfectly honest with you. The intensity sometimes of the racing is reduced because it's rather than it just being you versus the other drivers over a short kind of sprint race, it's more like you versus the track, and you kind of maximising your strategy and just being consistent, keeping the car on the track. That can be a lot more beneficial to your results in a longer race like this. So starting lap 3 here, we're going to get a run on Vegas in the Mercedes down into turn 1. It's not a move I particularly like to make, but we were alongside into the braking zone. We keep it alongside into turn 1 and 2. And it's a bit of a weird moment there. I'm not sure if Vegas felt contact off my car. I certainly felt no contact, but looking back at the replay, it looked, his car acted like he'd maybe contacted off mine, but there certainly was no contact on the replay. There was no contact that I felt, but if there was a contact there, Vegas, I do apologise. Some kind of little desync maybe in play there. But it was a bit of a weird one when I look back at the replay. Now, I did think somebody would do this in the early stages of the race, and it's no surprise that it's Tidgeney who's went for an incredibly early pit stop at the end of lap 4. Now, I did think there was the possibility, well, I knew there was the possibility of pitting nice and early on this one after 3-4 laps, sticking on a fresh pair of tyres, and because the tyres will be cooler and the car's going to be a little bit lighter, you should be able to make those tyres last a lot longer on the second stint. So Tidgeney pitted at the end of lap 4, and now we've come up behind this cluster of cars here. When we made a mistake into Dunlop curve, I think, and the Swiss driver managed to overtake us. And yeah, I could just see they were getting held up. They was losing a lot of time there with the battling. We're going to come into the pits here at the end of lap 5. And you can see we're kind of marginal on the fuel there. We're at 14.5 laps. We're actually short on the fuel, but I decided at this point, you know what, let's just not take the fuel on, because you get usually the animation of taking the fuel, and then whatever time it takes to put the fuel into the car, could be 2 to 3 seconds I might lose by changing the fuel. But we do take on fresh tyres, and do be very careful of the white line, obviously on the entry into the pits and also onto the exit. But your pit loss is around about 19.7 seconds, and I would add 1 second for that for every 10 litres of fuel that you take on. Now, fuel is a little bit of an issue in this one. It's kind of close. I'd say most cars are going to sit in that kind of 17-18 lap bracket, so it's your decision whether you want to save the fuel over the course of the race, which is fairly easy to do. It's a long race. You short shift for a few laps, you know, not even kind of any major short shift, and just kind of keeping it in mind throughout the duration of the race. It's fairly easy to save that fuel. Or you could just take the penalty of 2 to 3 seconds within the pits when you head into the pits, whatever lap that happens to be, to make sure you can then just push all the way to the end, certainly on the fuel. So a lap later, the driver in front of us has made their pit stop, and Red Banger was around about 2 seconds ahead of me when I made my pit stop, so we have gained on them over the course, but this was not ideal. We didn't want to come out behind another car. And fortunately for us, Red Banger was going to make a little bit of a mess of Degner 2. We're going to go down round the outside. They're going to be very, very kind to him. He's actually going to come off the throttle and let us take a normal line into the hairpin. So thank you very much for that, Red Banger. I appreciate your compliance there. Very much appreciated. So jumping forward here to lap 9, we're certainly struggling with this ill-handling Jaguar. We'll talk about the ill-handling Jaguar a little bit later, but there's an example of just what this car was doing to me. So if I went into Degner 1, if I hit the curb, I got a massive oversteer moment because there's something weird about the front of this car. If I went wide to avoid the curb, I would understeer off. So Degner 1 was a little bit of a nightmare in this car. Now, we had jumped Mario Sonic in the pit stop sequence, or phase if you like, but then that kind of little moment there allowed Mario Sonic to get back past us. As other drivers started to make their pit stops, you can see we jumped Bembo. We were very close to the Greek driver here. We got a little bit of a strange half-second penalty. Fatban in the BMW got a 3-second penalty for not adhering to the white lines. Bembo was very kind to us here by not kind of pushing the move into 130R after we served the penalty. In fact, Bembo was very kind to me for the duration of the race because he was much faster than me in that Porsche. As my tyres started to wear, this ill-handling car's handling just got worse. It's honestly, do a couple of laps in this Jaguar and just find out what the front end of this car does. It's very, very strange. It's almost like it's broken. And just keeping this car on the track was really just my main aim. After a few laps, I was like, oh, yeah, this isn't going to be a nice car to drive for 20 laps. So the German in the Porsche there has had a little bit of a moment at some point in this lap, and then kind of had another moment into Spoon Curve. That's going to allow us down the inside into 130R, and what do you know, folks? What position have we ended up in? 18 laps into the race, we are into the infamous P Wombo. I can't script it, folks. I just can't script it. You know, whatever you say, I am not scripting these races to finish P7. Now, being in P7 and wanting to finish in P7 quite a lot, we had to get quite defensive with the German and Bembo over the last couple of laps. But they're very compliant. We were kind of, yeah, we had to be pretty defensive, to be honest with you. Our tyres were suffering, but we're having to save fuel as well. We'll talk all about the strategy options in just a moment, but yeah, P7 is where we finished 30 seconds off the lead of Cooper, who actually had a spin in the opening couple of laps as well, or was assisted into a spin. But there you go, 40 minutes 26 seconds, the finishing time for the winner. So huge kudos to PD for trying something different here. Now it does seem to be a deliberate move on their part, as you've seen in my post I put out just after 6:30. The sort of scheduled time for this race is 50 minutes, and the race does only start on the hour. There's no half-past start, so the player base is not getting split. So this is, it would seem, a very deliberate move by PD to give us a longer race. Now, there's nothing groundbreaking here with what PD have done, but it is that kind of little change, that little bit of evolution that you're kind of looking for to just kind of maybe make the game feel a little bit different. Get rid of that staleness that was maybe mentioned in the video just the other day. And yeah, so thank you very much to PD for trying something different here with Daily Race C. It's definitely very much appreciated by me. I know longer races are not for everyone, but it'll be interesting to see what the player count is for this and how it kind of progresses over the week. Okay then, let's talk about those strategy options we've got on the screen there. Now there's kind of two ways you can do this. You've got your optimal strategy and you've got your undercut strategy. Now there is many variations, of course, of how you can do both of these strategies, but the way I see it, your optimal strategy, you're going to pit around lap 8, 9 or 10. You're going to take a splash of fuel if needed to get the optimal performance out of the tyres, out of the car, no fuel saving. Now the risk of this strategy is that if you're getting held up in the early stages by cars in front of you, you're risking the undercut, or being undercut by the early stoppers who have decided not to take the fuel on as well. So their pit stop might be, you know, 4 or 5 seconds quicker than yours, or maybe not quite as much as that, but they maybe get some clean air. So you could find that the drivers, when you come out from your pit stop, are maybe 7, 8 seconds up the road, but you will have the advantage of better tyres at the end and also not having to do that fuel saving. But overtaking is always pretty difficult around Suzuka. The other strategy is your undercut strategy, so you can pit as early as lap 3, to be perfectly honest with you. Now you don't really want to do that because your tyres are going to be horrible. But you've seen Tishley pit on lap 4, you've seen me pit on lap 5, we still had some tyres left, albeit they were slow. And possibly if you're trying to just really get the undercut, you're not going to take any fuel on and just fuel save it throughout the course of the race. You probably will jump a few people doing the optimal strategy in this way, but you will be very vulnerable the last third of the race as the tyres wear and the fuel needs saved. You're going to have drivers who are probably on that optimal strategy coming up behind you with much better performance. Now obviously you could do the optimal strategy and just fuel save as well, or you could do the undercut strategy and take on some fuel. But that's the two main ways I see the strategy playing out on this one. As ever with strategy, there's not just a strategy. Strategy is all about trying to find that clear track where you can then put in your kind of representative performance of your car and pace. So yeah, when people go, what's the strategy? It's like strategy is an open-ended book, particularly as the races get longer. You know, the variations in strategy become more and more. But that's the two main ways I see that people are going to do this race. You're either going to concentrate and get optimal performance out of the car, or you're going to try and get an undercut so that you're skipping people and then maybe kind of try to hold on towards the end. Of course you could, you know, if the things just work out correctly, you could go as far as lap 12, 13 on your first set of tyres. You know, the track opens up, you've got clear track, you're in a flow, you're quite happy, you might just stay out. But the important thing is to remember your tyre performance when the tyres are still got more than 50% of the tread. It's going to be your tyre sort of drop off performance is going to be pretty minimal. So once you kind of get those tyres down to around about 50%, if you're doing the optimal kind of strategy, that's when you look to be wanting to pit. And of course remember, the tyres will be cold when you come out of the pits, so they might not feel quite as good for a couple of laps compared to the tyres you've just came off, because they're obviously heated up. And also the tyres being a little bit cooler mean they will last a little bit longer. If you tend to maybe, if you pit around about lap 8, you're sort of aware of 8 laps with tyres that are already heated at the start of the race compared to 12 laps with a little bit lower fuel. It's actually not going to be that massive, believe it or not. But yeah, I'm quite excited for this one. It's definitely something different from PD. That's what we've been asking for, so I will be live streaming this a lot. I'm off work as well, so I have no excuses. We'll be definitely jumping onto this, trying some different cars, trying some different strategies, just having some good fun. The only complaint I would say about this one is there was definitely the possibility to maybe have a little kind of weather transformation in this. It doesn't necessarily have to be rain, but yeah, just maybe going from a kind of morning setting into the afternoon, or an afternoon setting into the evening would always be nice. And of course, you could maybe just get rid of that mandatory pit stop, because you're going to have to pit anyway, to be honest with you. because of the tyre wear. I'm pretty sure nobody would really want to no stop this on medium tyres that are going to be dead for a few laps at the end, and also fuel saved the entire race. Pit loss is only 20 seconds. It was kind of close, to be fair, but then to get rid of that mandatory pit stop, you can throw in some dynamic weather as well. But yeah, kudos to PD, as I said. I appreciate them trying something different. Maybe they're listening, hopefully they're listening, and the important thing for this is that people need to do this race. If you want longer races, then you need to be there participating, giving PD the numbers that shows them that people are interested in these. But yeah, do join me for some live streams over the course of the week. We'll have some fun, we'll try some different cars. Maybe not the Jaguar, because the Jaguar is an absolute dog, but yeah, look forward to seeing you then. Thanks for watching, folks. Hopefully the video's been useful, and I'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye now.